Om Bhuvaha, Om Suvaha, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam, Om Tatsa Vitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya.
Sadhus, saints and seers have played an important role in Hindu society for some thousands of years. Their morning ritual includes offering water and prayers to the rising sun and engaging in physical exercise. They seek salvation, moksha, which means liberation from all worldly pleasures and attachment. Some sadhus cover their body with ash to keep themselves pure and undefiled. Most sadhus follow one or other of the two great gods of Hinduism, Vishnu and Shiva. Vishnu is worshipped as the preserver of the universe. Devotees of Vishnu can be identified by the vertical lines on their forehead, often in the shape of a U with a crimson line in the center. His cult is strongest in northern and central India. Shiva has the power to destroy the universe and therefore has to be placated. His followers are identified by the horizontal lines on their forehead, often with a central dot representing a third eye. In South India and along the Himalayan foothills, it is Shiva, Lord of Yogis, who is all-powerful. Here at Risikesh, where the Ganges, or the Ganga, breaks out from the Himalayas, is the great training center for India's holy men, the Kailasha Ashram, renowned for keeping to the old Shiva traditions, where many holy men have been initiated for centuries. Their first act is to prepare new robes, dyeing them a saffron color, signifying the removal of all passions. Only those who endure the rigors of their period of testing will be accepted. These initiates come from all over India and from all walks of life. Two days before their initiation ceremony, the candidates are taken into the forest to select a staff, the symbol of their vocation. Their final initiation takes place on the auspicious night of Shivratri, one of the great Hindu festivals. For this, they will collect special plants and twigs to be offered in the sacrificial fire at the time of initiation. The bael tree is considered auspicious by Hindus. Its triple leaves resemble the trident, which is symbolic of Shiva. The leaves are collected and offered in the temple on the day of the festival. Hair and beard are considered to be worldly ornaments. On the day of initiation, the candidates assemble on the grounds of the ashram and submit to the barber's shears. Not all the hair is removed. A few strands are saved. This top knot, called the choti, will be cut off by the guru in the last stages of initiation. It will mark the candidate's symbolic death and rebirth as a sannyasi. Afterwards, the initiates gather together to sing hymns in praise of God. The Acharya Guru, who will be their religious instructor, now leads them through the next stage of initiation. They walk in procession down to the banks of the Ganga, each one carrying his staff. One by one, they prostrate themselves before the Guru, seeking his blessing. They purify themselves in the ice-cold water and offer their prayers to the sun. The new life is symbolized by the putting on of new robes. The old clothes are cast away. As the old garments float away, so does the past life of each individual.
तीन बार दिन फिर लीजिए जल अद्याम गोत्राः अस्मत् पितामहाः अमुक शर्मा रुद्रस्वरूपाः कृप्यताम् इदञ्जलं तस्मै स्वधा तस्मै स्वधा तस्मै स्वधा वर्मा गुप्तो वा आदित्य स्वरूपाः.
While a Brahmin priest chants mantras, the initiates offer an oblation usually associated with funeral rites.
अद्याम गोत्राः अस्मत् प्रपितामहाः अमुक शर्मा आदित्य स्वरूपाः तृप्यताम् इदञ्जलं तस्मै स्वधा तस्मै स्वधा तस्मै स्वधा.
The whole ceremony is under the direction of the Acharya Guru. Each initiate is then given wheat flour and water, out of which he kneads balls of dough. These, with other gifts of food, he offers with prayers to the souls of his ancestors. He is, in effect, performing his own funeral rites, signifying his death as a worldly creature and his rebirth into a spiritual life. Having performed these rituals during his initiation, the sadhu will require no further funeral rites at the time of his death. Later that night, the final ceremonies will be performed. The initiation will be complete. When a holy man dies, the event attracts great crowds of devotees. A few miles downstream from Risikesh is the town of Haridwar, where 8,000 people have come to pay their last respects to their Guru. Many have traveled over 200 miles to the funeral. The Guru's body is washed and covered with incense. Ashes and petals are sprinkled on his forehead. On a bier decorated with flowers, he's carried down to the bank of the river. Chanting, Swamiji lives, his devotees follow their Guru down to the water's edge. They regard their holy man as a saint, and therefore already immortal. After death, most Hindus are cremated and their ashes thrown into a river. But the bodies of holy men can either be buried or immersed in a river without cremation. The body, draped in a saffron robe, will first be placed in a wooden coffin, which will be weighted inside with stones and pushed into the river. No further ceremony is necessary. Sringeri, a monastic center in South India, is one of 4 centers of learning founded in the 8th century AD by Adi Shankaracharya. In the 14th century, his followers built this temple in the shape of a chariot and dedicated it to Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Ever since the establishment of the monastery, the Vedas, the ancient Hindu scriptures, have been studied here. The temple has some of the richest and most graceful sculpture and architecture in all India.
Namaste Vaya, Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmase, Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami, Radam Vadishyami, Satyam Vadishyami, Tannamavatu, Tadvaktaramavatu, Avatu Man, Avatu Vaktaram, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
The present head of Sringeri is Jagat Guru Abhinava Vidyatirth. As teachers are needed for guiding students, so sadhus are needed to teach mankind. Sadhus and saints are required to guide people in the right direction in this changing world so that they are not misled. The Jagat Guru's influence on social and political events is considerable. Politicians, wealthy industrialists and peasants all come to get his blessing and his advice. Of of the various ways of achieving enlightenment, or nirvana, Shaivas, like these students at the Kailasha ashram, follow the path of wisdom and divine knowledge. Most Shaiva sadhus are well educated. The Acharya Guru leads a class in Vedanta, a system of Indian philosophy that dates back over 2,000 years. The Guru is expounding the word of God. To his disciples, he is the mouthpiece of God. This is not mere instruction, it's the imparting of spiritual blessing.
चमत्कृतियों की जगह ऐसा पाठ ऐसा चाहिए न वेत्ति मायनम लोक यावत तावत चमत्कृति मनसी
The class ends with a hymn in praise of Shiva, in which his many names are chanted: Mahadeva, Mahayogi, Bhairava. As they depart, each student performs an act of devotion to his guru. Another path to enlightenment is that of concentration and meditation, the practice of yoga. The Nagas, the naked sadhus, show Hinduism in its most extreme active form. They make up the militant wing of India's holy men. Their sect was formed at a time when Hinduism was under threat from foreign invaders. Nagas are trained at gymnastic centers called akhadas. These centers are spread all over India. In Risikesh, there are a number of hospices which offer free food and shelter to sadhus on pilgrimage. They were founded and are supported by donations from wealthy devotees. Each morning, as many as 3,000 sadhus gather outside the kitchen for their main meal of the day, usually chapatis and lentil soup. If some extra money has been donated, there may also be vegetables and some sweets. The high caste sadhus are served food cooked in a separate kitchen. These sadhus can be easily recognized by the staff or danda they always carry, hence the name Dandi Swami. The staff is made of bamboo with an axe-shaped top, a weapon which is symbolic of Shiva. When a Dandi Swami performs his daily ritual of prayers, he makes sure that the top of his staff, the divine end, never comes into direct contact with the ground. Throughout the centuries, wealthy rulers have honored holy men by the donation of land and buildings. Most of the city of Haridwar belongs to two sadhu organizations, or akhadas, who have benefited from such gifts. These old documents list the villages and land given over to this akhada by the Sikh rulers of the Punjab. The agricultural land owned by the akhadas is rented out or farmed by hired laborers using modern farming machinery. Here the cash crop is sugarcane. The sugarcane is harvested, stripped and crushed. Juice from the sugarcane is boiled into liquid molasses and eventually turned into sugar. Such commercial ventures finance many charities. Shaivas in particular devote much time to such community service. The Divine Life Society in Risikesh has taken up the cause of leprosy patients. When Swami Chidananda first came to Risikesh, he was horrified to find the roads leading to the ashram lined with leprosy sufferers.
I found, to my horror and surprise, that there were more than 150 leprosy patients. They were eking out their livelihood by begging. They lined up on both sides of the road upon a 1.5 mile stretch, right up from the beginning of Manikireti till Lakshman Jula. And they were in a very pitiable condition, exposed to the inclemencies of weather through the 12 months, sun, rain, heat, dust and all that. And so besides leprosy, they had all sorts of general diseases also. And I began to try to see what I could do. And luckily, Gurudev, my holy master, put me in charge of the ashram dispensary. And I began to take interest in the treatment, and I received immense encouragement from my master. He said, go ahead, it's wonderful thing you are doing.
हमेशा दिव्य है, ये आत्मा में हमेशा शांति है, आत्मा में हमेशा आनंद है, ये आत्मा में हमेशा ज्ञान है, और ये आत्मा ऐसा है जैसा कि सूरज.
Swami Chidananda talks to them about the importance of self-respect. Peace rests in the soul, he tells them. The soul is the inner self, which fire cannot burn, water cannot wet, air cannot dry.
वो आत्मा उसको हथियार घायल नहीं कर सकता है, उसको आग जला नहीं सकता है, उसको पानी भिगवा डुबा नहीं सकता है, उसको हवा सुखा नहीं सकता है। कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
I don't know whether by why has counted some?
All right. Let them go. There is enough.
The colony which has been set up for them is supplied weekly with food by the ashram. With the ashram support, they now run their own handicraft center. A daily clinic ensures that the patients get all the medical treatment and drugs that their condition requires. These sadhus, traveling on an elephant given to them by the former ruler of a princely state, are on a pilgrimage. They gather alms in the villages which they pass through. Their destination is the most important festival in India, the Kumba Mela. On this occasion, it's being held in Prayag, the ancient name for Allahabad. The festival is held every 12 years and attracts pilgrims from all over India. These sadhus will be on the road for many weeks. According to legend, there was a time when the gods and demons churned up the ocean, throwing up many treasures and precious objects. One of the gods, the Lord Dhanvantari, the divine healer, emerged carrying the Amrut Kumba, the pot of nectar. Immediately the demons tried to seize the Kumba, but the gods defended it, triumphed, and carried it to heaven. On their journey they rested at 4 places: Nashik, Ujjain, Prayag, and Haridwar, sites that have since become places of pilgrimage. On this occasion, the Mela at Prayag will be particularly blessed. Such an auspicious conjunction of the planets hasn't occurred for 144 years. This will be the largest single crowd ever gathered in one place. The holy men begin to arrive with great pomp and style. These are Shaivas, the crowd lined up on the procession route to watch them go by. As the numbers grow, loudspeakers blast instructions to the crowd to keep well back. Each sect of sadhus enters the festival area in big processions. The important holy men are borne in silver and gold palanquins on elephants. They advance like Maharajas receiving the homage of the crowd. The status of each group is reflected in the number of elephants and horses and the quality of the trappings. The ground they tread becomes holy, and dust from their footprints becomes a precious possession. Elaborate preparations have been in hand for many weeks. For a brief period, more than 12 million people will be crammed into the one area. Within a few days, a vast new township of tents springs up beside the waters of the Ganga and the Yamuna. The pilgrims will come by air, rail, road and boat, on bullock cart and on foot. 8,000 policemen will be brought in to maintain law and order. 10 field hospitals will deal with accidents and sickness. 33 inoculation centers will ensure that every visitor is vaccinated against cholera. Each group of sadhus and their followers have been allotted a space in the 3,000 acres taken over for the festival. In the Vaishnava camp, devotions are led by two men chanting from the Ramayana, an epic poem which tells the tale of the good Prince Rama triumphing over the evil Prince Ravana. The chanting is taken up by their Brahmin congregation. This sadhu balances on one leg while he chants his prayers to the clicking of his rosary beads. By doing so, he hopes to gain the merit of divine approval. This holy man's marking identifies him as a member of a cult which devotes itself to Sita, the consort of Rama. It's believed that Sita applied a vermilion mark to the forehead of their founder saint. They copy this act by whitening their faces with sandalwood paste and marking their foreheads with vermilion. This is Kadeshwari Baba, who has taken a vow to remain standing for several years, thereby acquiring great sanctity. Both legs are badly swollen. He sleeps, bathes, meditates and eats in this posture with the help of a hanging board. The devotees crowd around to catch a glimpse of him, and in return he blesses them and offers them sweets. This man seeks merit by chanting his prayers while standing on his head. By contrast, this guru is allowing a follower from his village to gain merit by giving him a traditional country massage. In spite of the large numbers, food is really no problem. Groups of sadhus prepare food for themselves and for their faithful devotees, for whom the food is distributed free. On such festivals, individual devotees often donate meals for thousands of their fellow pilgrims and for the sadhus. It's not surprising that in such a large gathering of holy men, there will be some who are in the business of exploiting pilgrims. The true sadhu doesn't need the gimmick of a parrot to collect his ill-gotten gain. In those sects given to the path of devotion, little emphasis is placed on education. This boy is merely learning to chant the name of his God. He's been put in the care of an elderly sadhu by his parents. For the disciple, the guru is a divine presence. The disciple will obey his guru in all things and will turn to him for advice in all life's crises. Being in the presence of the guru means receiving grace and blessing. Non-Hindus and foreigners are not made welcome at the Kumba Mela. This is very much a gathering of Hindus. Among the very few foreigners present are Americans from the Hare Krishna movement. Though founded by an Indian, the movement is now mainly composed of foreigners. Vaishnava sadhus subject their bodies to extreme physical conditions in the belief that thereby they will achieve salvation. For this, they train their bodies so that they remain unaffected by the heat and cold, hunger and thirst. Here, they expose their bodies to the 5 fires, fire from 4 directions and fire from the sun, and this at the hottest time of the day, when the temperature rises to 45 degrees centigrade. Each sadhu sits in a circle of burning coals. The size of the coals depends on the stage of his yogic achievement. Another holy man, Devariya Baba, lives in a hut high up on a platform. He is believed to possess supernatural powers and therefore attracts a great deal of devotion. When he appears, the devotees struggle to get near enough to him to receive his blessed food. This Shaiva Sadhu has come to the Mela from the northern Himalayas. In accordance with the vow taken, he has held up his arm in the air for so long that the muscles have atrophied and his nails have grown into talons. These are the Nagas. Many festivals in the past have been turned into battlefields by their fanatical violence. Dawn breaks. It is the day of the Kumba Mela. Already throughout the night, and in spite of the heavy rain, the crowds have continued to cross the site down to the water's edge at the rate of 15,000 every minute. The holy men have the right to go down to the water at the most auspicious hour of the day, the time being determined by the conjunction of the planets. The ordinary pilgrims stand aside as the sadhus proceed to the river. No one is allowed to cross their path. To do so would be a most inauspicious act. Slowly the procession approaches the confluence of the waters. Each akhada takes its turn to bathe. The loudspeakers urge them to keep moving and clear the way for the next group. The The mass of people wait patiently for the holy men to complete their rituals. Then their turn will come. The heavy rain and the trampling of many millions of pairs of feet is making the ground at the water's edge slippery and dangerous. Police and soldiers bring pallets of straw to cover the mud to make it safer for the millions of pilgrims still to come. Now it's the turn of the ordinary pilgrims and their families to perform their rituals. As part of their devotion, they offer milk to the sacred river and water to the sun and light a lamp. Some of the sacred water will be carried home in pots for the benefit of those who couldn't make the journey to the Kumba Mela. As dusk gathers, the last weary pilgrims return from the river and prepare to depart, back to their homes, back to their ashrams. Though weary in body, they are refreshed in spirit. They have just participated in the greatest religious event in the history of mankind.
यही सोही रमते राम भजो क्यों ना राधे श्याम आज समय ऐसा न जाने काल समय कैसा है राधे 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 राधे